Hello Internet. Today is upgrade day for the server. For those who don't know, I've got my own home server where I host Nextcloud and Plex and Minecraft, and it's getting close to full. It's a headless Debian server. It's running Debian Linux 10 at the moment, and so all of my management is done via the terminal over the network via SSH, unless there's some catastrophic problem where it doesn't boot and I've got to go back there. But let's go ahead and log in here and I'll show you what's going on. So the way our server is set up is it has two 12 terabyte Western Digital Gold drives that are paired in a software RAID 1. You can see I created a partition about 1 gigabyte less than the actual capacity of the drives. That was to account for variances in actual capacity if in the future I upgraded it with a different brand or model of 12 terabyte drive. So I've got a partition, and then these two partitions are part of the MD0 software RAID 1 array, and then the data partition on here is actually Lux encrypted. Now I encrypted it so that if a drive fails and I can't get it to work well enough for me to actually shred the data on it and I have to warranty it, then if that drive gets refurbished and reused, say it's not a problem with the platters, it's a problem with the logic board or something, and they reuse those platters, I don't want somebody to be able to just pull my files off at a later date and maybe get my tax returns or something sensitive. So right now I have two 12 terabyte drives in a software RAID 1. I have a third drive on hand, and right now what's going on is I've actually got a backup running in the background. Let's see if we can see it here. You might see a rsync right there, and I've got a custom little backup script here. You can see it checks to make sure we're root, and then it mounts and unlocks the drive with a key file. The offsite backup drive is a 12 terabyte external that I keep locked in the car, and obviously that drive is also encrypted, so if somebody were to break in and steal it, they might get a free hard drive, but they won't get any sensitive information off of it. Then it actually does the backup, and since Nextcloud handles versioning, I don't worry about doing incremental backups of things. I basically just make the backup drive look like the live drive, basically. And then it unmounts it and exits. So as you can see right now, it's still working on the updating the backup. Once the backup finishes, what my plan is, and what I've read can be done, is I can take my 2-disk RAID 1 group and I can convert it to a degraded RAID 5 group. And then I can add the third disk to that new degraded RAID 5 array and end up with a 3-disk RAID 5. Now converting it to RAID 5 should, while it is 2 disks, basically look like RAID 0. Like that'll go ahead and give me my 24 terabytes of capacity. And then adding the third disk will just take it out of a degraded state, and it should automatically go ahead and start building out that third drive. So hopefully that will work the way that I've read and been told that it should work. So to rehash, I'm just going to take my software, my Linux software RAID 1, convert it to a degraded 2-disk RAID 5, because I've only got 2 disks on it right now anyway, and then add the third disk to it. That should bump my capacity up to 24 terabytes across a 3-disk RAID 5 array. And so hopefully everything goes according to plan. One reason I'm updating the backup, I've got Apache 2 stopped, I've got cron stopped, I've basically any service that would make changes to the contents of the storage drive is turned off. So that worst case scenario, I delete the array completely, I make a new one from scratch, and then I re-sync all of the information back over from the backup drive. I'd rather not do that because it takes a long time to move 12 terabytes over USB, but I can do that if I have to. Plus it's kind of scary to only have one complete copy of your data until it's done, because what if that external dies in the middle of the restore? So I'd rather not do that, but I can do that. So I'm going to let the backup finish, and you can see it's almost caught up here, and once the backup is finished, then I will go ahead and we'll physically install the drive and see what happens. So we'll be back then. Alright, so it's actually the next day. The backup is finished, so we need to go ahead and shut the server down. see here that the offsite backup drive is unmounted, so we can go ahead and shut down the server and start physically installing the drive. Alright, so we've got the drive physically installed. We can see that the server is back up and connected to the network, so it booted up just fine. Let's go ahead and log in. And let's maximize this. Oh. And what you see there is our new drive, also 10.9 terabytes, but it's not a part of this RAID array. So the first thing I'm going to do is become root. We're going to cfdisk /dev/sdd gpt, and we're going to create a new partition of this many sectors. And you see that leaves us about 1 gigabyte at the end. Like I said, I did that so that if there is ever a time that I'm upgrading the drives and there's a slight variation in actual capacity between manufacturers or models, I've got a gigabyte worth of wiggle room where I don't have to worry about the drives not being the same size. So we're going to write this out and quit. So now when we list block devices, we now have SDD1, that is a 10.9 terabyte partition. So I found this actually on kernel.org. I just realized upgrading a mirror RAID to a parity RAID, and I don't know if I need to lock the encrypted partition before doing this or not. I do know I'm going to unmount it real quick. So let's say systemctl stop plex media server, because that does use the external drive. And we're going to say umount/mount/storage. Okay. And we can see umount/home/part image. Alright, so none of those drives should be mounted anymore. According to this, I should be able to just say mdatom --grow /dev/md0 level equals 5. I may have to do the md/0, but let's try it. Oh snap, son. Now we do mdatom --grow /dev/md0 --add /dev/sdd1 --raid -devices equals 3. Oh man, hell, it might have just worked. Are you serious? Okay, well let's try this. It's 10.9 terabytes. Let's change the size. So let's try this. Let's try mdatom --grow /dev/md0 -- size equals max. Okay, so it's resyncing / recovering, so I need to wait until it's finished. So we can see RAID 5 encrypt, so let's do cat /proc /mdstat. Okay, so it's going to rebuild it as a 12 terabyte drive first, but we are RAID 5 with 3 disks. So now I just need to resize that partition, but it won't let me do that until it has rebuilt that new drive. So I guess I'll let it finish. I'm going to restart it so that my services are back online, and then I'll just let it rebuild itself, and when it's finished we'll come back and see if we can grow the array. Now I know I don't have to restart it to get everything working again, but since I'm mounting encrypted drives and I've done a lot, I just want to make sure that everything, well, first of all, I want to make sure that it will actually reboot with this 3-disk array now in play, and that everything mounts properly. So let's do a ping. That'll let us know when it's back up. There it is. And let's SSH back into it. Okay, so it is reshaping and it's rebuilding with 3 disks, so we'll let it finish that, and then we'll go about see, hopefully I can resize the encrypted partition without remaking it and having to reduplicate data all over again. I'm not sure how that works in this instance, because the partition that's on it is a normal like disk partition that I created. It just happened to be on a RAID device, and so I'm not sure how growing the array would also grow that partition. But oh no, I'm reading here. Yeah, see, if the array was originally partitioned, the new space will now be available to resize existing partitions. So first I need to grow the array to take advantage of the space, and after I've done that, then I do need to resize my partition, and that will be interesting because I'll have to resize an encrypted partition. But I'm going to try it and see if it works. So we'll let it finish rebuilding. Probably going to be a day or two. Yeah, a while. And then we'll go from there. Alright, so as you can see, it's actually a couple of days later. The reshaping has finished, so let's go ahead and get hopped into our server here. You can see that the RAID object itself has reshaped to the appropriate size. The next thing I'm going to do is we need to resize the actual encrypted partition. But before I do that, I did go ahead and I turned our services back on for a few days. I actually added a few things to the server, and so what I need to do real quick is I need to update our backup drive before I touch this one, because I don't want to lose any changes that we've made in the couple of days it took to reshape the RAID array. So let's go ahead and become root, and let's stop our Nextcloud. And let's go ahead and stop cron just to make sure nothing kicks in. And let's stop the unattended upgrades, which that shouldn't run at this time, but just in case. And so now let's go ahead and let's do a screen so I can disconnect from this. And let's go to my home directory and let's launch. Well, let's make sure first it detects the. Okay, so there is the backup drive. So let's do our backup again to resync it. And now this, if we pause and then resume, yeah, it's gonna, yeah, because so that verifies that's down. So let's go ahead and so there's that. And that shouldn't take too long because there hasn't been a whole lot change in the past couple of days. So we'll let the backup run, and we'll check on it again when it is finished. Alright, so I noticed something. When I actually tried to run cfdisk on devmd0, it basically didn't recognize that there was a partition there. And then when I reopened, just used a lux open to reopen the crypt object itself, it says that it recognizes the new capacity, and this wasn't here before. So let's try something. Let's say mount /dev/mapper/storage_crypt to /mount/storage, and then df-h/mount/storage. Okay, so the partition itself is still just the 12 terabytes. So let's umount/mount/storage. And so I don't have to resize the lux object. And next, let's say we have to do e2fsck-f/dev/mapper/storage_crypt. And it's going to do a file system check on that partition. And then once that's finished, hopefully we should be able to just resize it. Alright, so we've done the file system check. Let's try resize to fs/dev/mapper/storage_crypt. Let's see what happens. Alright, so it says that the resizing has finished. So let's do mount/dev/mapper. We do df. Oh snap, son. It worked. So let's do a reboot and make sure that it auto mounts on boot and that everything continues to work properly. Alright, there we're getting ping responses. Let's go ahead and hop in and let's see what we got. Alright, so let's do df-h, our storage. That's good. That's good. So let's bring this up and hit resume. Oh snap, yeah. So Nextcloud is working. What about Plex? Plex is working. So it appears that everything is working. I tested this in a virtual machine with a thumb drive before I started. And one thing with, I created it with the graphical GNOME disks utility. And in that instance, I had to resize the Lux container and then resize the partition underneath it. But with this, when I tried to use, and I used CF disk because I knew I'd be using a terminal, so when I went to resize things, I used CF disk in the terminal, and in that instance, I was able to see the Lux container. But when I tried to do that on this one, it didn't see anything on the disk. But then I noticed that when I just Lux closed and then reopened the Lux container, it just resized itself to accommodate the new space. So then all I really had to do was basically just close and reopen our Lux container and then resize the partition itself that was inside it. And yeah, so we're good to go. We have 24 terabytes of available storage on the server, and everything appears to be working just grand. So for the record, I mainly wanted to record this just to document this experience, because this is the first time I've ever done this sort of thing. So we did two things that I had never done and that I learned are possible. Number one, we converted a Linux software RAID 1 to a Linux software RAID 5 directly without losing any data. And then on that RAID 5 group, we resized a Lux encrypted partition also without losing any data and without decrypting and then re-encrypting the partition. So, pretty nifty stuff. So to recap, if you would like to resize an encrypted partition and you're working in a terminal-only environment, all you have to do is close and then reopen or lock and unlock your Lux container, and once the container is reopened, you can just resize your partition like it was any other partition. Just don't point to, SDB1. You need to point to the /dev/mapper name that is assigned to your encrypted partition when you opened it with Lux. But yeah, I'm stoked. Y'all take care. Have a good one.